Hello everyone, and this is Michael Shia, and we will be talking about the two questions that I've created for the video project. And for the first question, we are assuming that the United States economics is in full production, and we were told to draw a correct graph of the long run aggregate supply, short run aggregate supply, and aggregate demand. This is a very simple graph, and it'll look something like this. And because everything is in full production, there will not be any recessionary or inflationary gaps, and it will be a equilibrium in the middle with the two axes marked price level and our GDP. Make sure to label every part of the graph, like Y1 and price level 1. And on to the second part of the question. If China suddenly gains a growth in economics and start to travel to America for their vacations, how would the exchange rate be affected? And in the last unit, we already learned to use the foreign exchange market graphs, and we'll be using that to solve this question. So if the Chinese people are seeing a growth in economics and traveling to the US, that means that the US dollar demand would increase, and like this, something like this, and the demand will shift to the right. D1, and then we will see an appreciation in the US dollars as the exchange rate moved up, and as the Chinese tourists exchanged their money to US dollars, the supply of yen would increase, and we will see a depreciation in the Chinese yen. So for this question, we are gonna answer depreciate. Make sure to explain your answers on the graphs just to make sure, and make sure you label it correctly. And for the third part, if United States starts to put more money into their saving account and consuming less of their income, how would this affect the quantity loanable funds? And so we're going to be using the loanable funds graphs. So 1C, we'll be drawing the graphs. So if less money are being consumed and more are being put into their banks, that means that the banks have more money to loan out, and so the supply would increase. As lenders and the borrowers, the supply of lenders will increase because people are putting more of their money into the banks, thus causing the interest rate to decrease. And we will see a shift to the right of the supply curve. How would this affect the quantity of loanable funds? So there will be more loans available because the supply increased, and that should be it. And now for the second question, it will be a little bit different. We'll be looking at this question. Assume that the economy of country Y has an actual unemployment rate of 8%, with a natural rate of unemployment of 4% and an inflation rate of 5%. Then we'll be using the data given to draw a correctly labeled long-run and short-run Phillips curve graph and mark the short-run equilibrium as A. We'll be looking this question like this, and the Phillips curve will be inflation, and this x-axis will be unemployment. The short-run Phillips curve is a downward sloping curve, and it is a vertical line for the long-run Phillips curve. So we'll be using the data given to mark the graph. So the natural rate of unemployment is 4%, and the actual unemployment rate is 8%. So we are exceeding the natural rate of unemployment with a inflation rate of 5%. So this point will be marked as A, as it is the short-run equilibrium for the Phillips curve. And on the second part of the question, if the government used contractionary fiscal policy to reduce the unemployment rate, how would this affect the ADAS curve? So first we'll be drawing the ADAS curve. And contractionary fiscal policy means that the government is either increasing tax, or they are reducing government spending. Government spending is a part of aggregate demand. So if that decreases, then the aggregate demand will also decrease, shifting the aggregate demand to the left. We will be decreasing our GDP that the country is in, also decreasing the price level. And for the third part of the question, because of the fiscal policy, the interest rate increases, and how would that affect the money demand? Would it shift to the right, shift to the left, or remain the same? On this question, we'll be using the money supply curve. Money demand is a downward sloping curve, and the money supply is also a vertical line. So if the interest rate increases, so it will mean that this point will move to this point, but no shift will be occurring in this graph. So let me just label this nominal interest rate. So it will be shifting it will just be a movement along the curve, and it will not shift to the right or shift to the left. I hope this video helped everyone with the macroeconomic topic, and I hope you have a good day.